Most discussions about Australia's carbon dioxide emissions reductions have centred on tackling power generation and big industrial users of coal and gas. But work is coming on another front too. What to do about the petrol and diesel guzzling cars and vans that most Australians drive. This can be done by cleaning up liquid fuels, getting more efficient vehicles onto the road, or both. Now, the Australia Institute has been doing some recent work in this area, and its Program Director for Climate and Energy is Richie Merzian. He joins us. Welcome back, Richie. This study that the Australia Institute has done, what does it presuppose is going to happen next for Australia in cleaning up the vehicle side of things?
Unfortunately, our transport sector is just quite dirty. It's in fact grown the most in terms of its pollution of any sector since we signed up to the original UN Convention 30 years ago. And since then, 80% of the world have adopted these mandated fuel efficiency standards. That is, they've improved the average level of efficiency of their vehicles so that those consumers spend less on petrol and diesel. But in Australia, we don't have these standards, which means that since 2016, we've been spending way too much on petrol.
Okay, but with the vehicles, it's largely been self-regulated, I think. The industry trying to hit certain averages collectively. Why hasn't that worked in your view?
Yeah. I mean, the voluntary standard that currently industry has put forward is relatively weak. It has a number of loopholes. So what that means is Australians are just not getting the more efficient vehicles that are available. Instead, they're being sent to other markets. So 80% of the world have these standards and we don't. As a result, our research finds that since 2016, $6 billion has been spent on fuel that didn't need to have to be spent.
Why wouldn't the opposite be true? Because if the economies of scale were with the 80% of the world running comparatively cleaner cars, why wouldn't those companies be sending those cars to Australia?
It's a great question. Basically, if you're a car manufacturer, you're looking across the entire globe. Australia's a car taker now, not a car maker. And so they still have these assembly lines for less efficient cars. They go to basically the countries that don't have the standards in place. So they're penalised if they don't send them to Europe. They can send them here, which means that we basically become a dumping ground for inefficient vehicles, and we literally pay the cost of that.
But would that correct itself in time? If you read the public statements of all of these global car makers, they're all striving to, in effect, get rid of fossil-fuelled engine cars, internal combustion engines, in a matter of 7, 8, 10 years. So is this a problem that will self-correct without government action?
I wish we could take them at face value, but we do know, and there was research to this on the front page of the Sydney Morning Herald today, that there are a number of the legacy car companies that haven't moved quickly into the new electric vehicles and more efficient models, and they're saying go slow on these standard changes, and as a result we have not seen this. The federal government are responsible and they can make this change this year if they want to.
Okay, so what is it that you'd be advocating them to do? What's the, for want of a better phrase, cliche, low-hanging fruit?
The low-hanging
What's
fruit.
the easy starting point?
Exactly. And look, this is the first cab off the rank, really. It's basically mandating robust fuel efficiency standards in line with Europe. So adopting best practice, it means that Australia will get the most efficient vehicles, which means we pay less at the bowser, and you think this would be the right time for it, because in September, the fuel price will go up another 22 cents when that excise returns to its full value. This is the time to make that change, and if we do it, we'll also help meet our emission reduction target.
Pay less at the bowser, but more for the vehicle? Are these cars more expensive?
Well, this has been some of the, I think, problems in the past. There's been a lot of misinformation around what these standards will do. Most manufacturers will tell you this will mean more models. These models can come at the same price. We're just not getting them here because we don't have the standards in place, and this is an opportunity for the federal government to lead. In 2 weeks, we have an electric vehicle summit taking place along with a number of other partners. Numerous energy ministers are coming. This is the opportunity to finally, once and for all, commit to this, because it's been done and talked about for the last 20 years, and now's the time for action.
But why wouldn't they, or why couldn't they take an alternative path of action here, which is to heavily promote and encourage removing taxes, for instance, from electric vehicles, and just let your ageing fleet and current fleets of internal combustion engines reach the end of their natural life anyway.
Yeah, I mean, according to the International Energy Agency, we need to phase out internal combustion engine vehicles, and we should have a limit on the sale of new ones by 2035. Cars, last for about 15, 20 years. So really, if you want to clean up your fleet, you need to start now. And you start not just by pushing for more electric vehicles, which are great, but also for cleaning up the existing ones. By starting it now, it compounds year on year. And so in the next 15 years, we would have gone some way into actually meeting that target, but it begins with action this year.
And are there benefits to be obtained by looking at the fuels themselves? Australia has at various times changed the fuel standard. Is anything worth contemplating on that front?
Yeah, look, I mean, there used to be a number of technical difficulties in doing this, but, we don't really have refineries anymore. We don't really have our own car manufacturing. So the opportunity to import the right solution is there, because the other part of this equation is that we import 91% of our liquid fuels. We import that petrol and diesel, and they're record high prices that we're importing it at. What we're saying is let's use it efficiently and let's demand more efficient vehicles for Australians, and that starts with the federal government ticking this off this year.
Okay, and because just to put it in perspective, what is transport's share of Australia's emissions, roughly speaking?
It's a great question. It's about 1/5 of our national emissions, but it has increased the most of any one sector. So if you think about it, in electricity, we're going some way to cleaning it up, like you said at the start. But with transport, we've done very little. The government has these EV incentives that it tried to pass in the lower house, but this is the next one, and this will go some way to cleaning up our entire vehicle fleet, not just promoting electric vehicles.
Just on EVs, though, what more? Are you arguing any more could be done on that front? I mean, exempting them from luxury vehicles is but one step. So we still seem a long way short of that tipping point where the average car buyer is going to contemplate one simply on price.
That's right. I mean, look, there's so much more we could be doing on electric vehicles. We're really behind the ball on this one. The waiting lists are huge for electric vehicle models, and if you ask the manufacturers, they're saying, well, we can't actually get headquarters to send us more because we get penalised if we don't send them to either of the jurisdictions, whereas we can send any old gas guzzler here. And that's why actually the manufacturers want the first thing, this fuel efficiency standard mandated. That'll actually help with electric vehicles. We can do a lot more in terms of incentives as well, but it really begins with cleaning up our fleet, with having an efficiency standard.
All right, let's see where it takes us. Richie Merzian, thanks for that update today. Richie Merzian there from the Australia Institute.